Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Outside the Echo Chamber. I'm Rick Lord, and we are coming to you today from a facility here in South Charleston that is really fusing together the economy, education, and the future of energy independence and diversification here in West Virginia. It's a fantastic partnership that has arisen, and here to join me to talk about it today is the president of Green Power Motor Company, Brendan Riley, and next to him, the vice president of development and strategy, Mark Neslin. Gentlemen, an exciting day not only for you, but for the town and for the area and region as well, with Green Power coming to South Charleston. Just to give a Cliff's Notes version to anyone that hasn't been following the story, you have entered into an agreement, a $15 million agreement, to make 41 electric buses, 4 of which will be called nanobuses. We'll get into all the details as we drill down into this. But this is really, you hear in West Virginia a lot about diversifying the economy. This is a fossil fuel state. So to have a green energy company coming in to make this type of commitment to West Virginia, and I want to pose the first question to you as the president. Obviously, when you enter into these types of agreement, you're looking at it from Green Power's point of view, what is good for us. But beyond just the incentives to get you here, it has to be a good fit, right?
Certainly does.
So why West Virginia?
There's a few reasons we like West Virginia. First of all, the location of West Virginia is actually very advantageous to us. It's really in the middle of the entire East Coast. So we call it our Mid-Atlantic strategy. Within 500 miles, we're within 60% of the addressable market for our products. So we really have a good location. Transportation costs are high, so you want to be as close to where you're going to be delivering the product as possible. The other things we like about West Virginia are the highways are very good for moving goods. We've got rail, we've got barge, we've got a lot of good infrastructure in place here to get goods, for goods movement. We have a good skilled workforce here in West Virginia. And we have a government that's very business friendly. That's very important. And then the optics of it are also very good. If you think about bringing a product that's a clean air, zero emissions transportation product into the heart of coal country, I think is fairly compelling, because they're good, high-paying jobs. They're showing a transition of from one industry to another. And then, practically speaking, I've told this to many people, and they think it's tongue-in-cheek, but this is a great opportunity for us to take advantage of. Largely coal-produced electricity goes directly into our vehicles. So yes, we've got very, very good emission standards on coal these days, actually much greater than most people understand. And then secondly, we're using that directly into the vehicle. The other vehicles we compete against, those energy products aren't even from here. They're diesel or gas.
Right.
So we're basically the only ones using the stuff that's produced here, and that's coal into electricity, which is the most ubiquitous energy source in the country right now.
And it's an important point that you're bringing up, because when you hear this debate back and forth, so many times it gets so polarized that people are like, it's one or the other. But really, for the foreseeable future, it needs to be a mix. And as you transition, you need to understand that everything has to be a part of that portfolio. And maybe, Mark, this is something that you can handle here. When you're talking about what he said, where to charge these batteries, even in an electric vehicle, coal still has to be a blueprint, a footprint of what that is, and you do it responsibly, and hopefully, as he said, you use clean technology in the coal industry as well. But as you diversify the economy, as you bring in these renewables and move to cleaner energy, it's important that everything is involved in that, is it not?
And exactly what Governor Justice, his economic development team have done is they've looked at this all of the above energy policy. How do you take advantage of the natural resources, the fossil fuels that are plentiful in West Virginia, that have been a driving economic force in this state for years? How do you combine that with a new clean technology, with renewables like the deals they've done with Berkshire Hathaway on the solar? And how does all of that fit together into a package that moves forward? And that's the way that really we need to be thinking about energy policy nationwide. And the Justice Administration is leading that thought process. They're doing other things with hydrogen opportunities that they're working toward. And so as a total energy source, this administration is so far ahead of what other places are in the way they're thinking about it that allows it here. Brendan's point is so important. I can control source pollution at a coal plant, which, as he said, the coal industry is already doing a fantastic job controlling that source pollution. I can't control the source pollution on 2,000 school buses running in the state of West Virginia. So I control my pollution source where it's at, the coal plant, and then I eliminate the pollution source in the zero-emission vehicle that uses the electricity produced by that coal plant.
So let's talk a little bit about this deal. 41 buses for the Department of Education in the state of West Virginia. What's the timeline on this? How quickly can those get operational and be sent out to these schools?
So we're starting the production on the little school buses right away. And those should be largely ready for delivery, let's say by October, when we start the production of the big buses out of this location. And those should start rolling off the line 3-4 months after they've started for the first buses, the first deliveries, and then we'll have a nice cadence going after that.
And this just isn't about West Virginia school buses. This is going to be a manufacturing hub for a huge region here in Appalachia and beyond.
That's right. And this order was really the commitment of the state to the company and to the technology, which is fantastic. This is what manufacturers like to see. Industry likes to see the commitment of the state, of the government to the company and to the technology, to know that you're welcome. But you're exactly right. After we've completed these deliveries to the state, we have New York State, Maryland coming on board also, and then eventually Florida and other populous states, Pennsylvania states, Ohio states in the region here that we anticipate delivering buses to.
And obviously in business it's a supply and demand thing, and people in West Virginia might not be aware of different state laws and what they're going to be mandating coming up. We were talking a little bit about coming down the pike soon in a state like New York, where you have to buy electric pretty soon here in a few years.
Yeah, by 2035, everything has to be electric, but you can't buy a school bus for the New York market after 2027 unless it's electric. And so that product for green power comes from this plant here in South Charleston to that scenario. And I think a point you made a minute ago, Rick, and that Brendan touched on, that the relationship for the company with the powers to be in the state, in this case it was the legislature, the executive branch, it's an important commitment to the state, or to the company that the state makes. But I think that we need to look at what a great job the Justice Administration, his Economic Development Group did, because they went out and worked a deal with a company, Green Power, and didn't say, here's $15 million, please come and build vehicles.
Just throw money at you, right?
They said, here's $15 million that we're going to use to buy your vehicle to help you ramp up your production so that you can meet those New York markets, those DC markets, those Maryland markets. And the state got something back. In addition to jobs and economic growth, they got product back for that $15 million. So it was such a win-win situation for the state of West Virginia and for Green Power as a company that I think it's a model that you should look at in the future of how you do these things.
So how many jobs are we looking at here when this gets ramped up to full capacity?
Full capacity here is 200. We'll have 65 here within the next few months to get started on the big bus production, just to start, and then we'll continue to move as we start getting more vehicles through and demand starts increasing. But I'd like to go back to Mark's point here. Not only did they commit to the vehicles, but this is the real practicality and intelligence of this group, which I found very impressive and refreshing, to be perfectly honest. They said, well, why don't you test them in this state and see where they work and see how they work, and let's get some real data. And it helps us to know where our home run deployments can be and should be, and it helps them to know, hey, do these products really work? What do the school districts say? What do the students say? What is the verdict on the product, and the product as it applies to the given region, county, topography, whatever.
Yeah, it's a
environment
wonderful
it's running.
point because school buses running in West Virginia are a lot different than California or New
Certainly,
York.
and West Virginia is a very different place. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you find the flat land to make roads here. I mean, I think they take all the flat land and and there's nothing left over. So everything's on a hill
Sure.
here, and it's a different driving cycle. It's a different environment. The roads are very squirrely. They're narrow. I've not seen one straight road in the state, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
So it is a very not necessarily unique. It's varied. And it's a very specific environment that we've been able to demonstrate that our product works in, our products work in, both the big bus and the little bus, that we feel that it further buttresses. I mean, we can deploy vehicles in West Virginia successfully. We have very little problems in most other places that don't have as demanding requirements as they do here.
And obviously there's a personal aspect of this too. When you're talking about school buses, you're talking about children, and a lot of these families, every parent will want to know in a state like West Virginia that has a very rural and sparse population, some of these kids are on the bus for 2 hours, right? So these parents want to know, okay, I'm starting to get up to speed on this type of technology, but how reliable are these electric buses going to be?
We see in the pilot that it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It has the range that it's supposed to have. If you charge with your opportunity charging during the day, you're looking at 200 to 225 miles a day, maybe even up to 250 depending on the day. If it's a warmer day or something like that, you could see up to 250. That's exactly what a school route is made for. And so these buses, from a reliability standpoint, are getting those children to school safely, not tired, not having breathed NOx fumes, and ready to learn. Because the studies show that when those kids that are on that bus for 2 hours, when they get to school, they're tired, they're not in a learning mode because of the NOx fumes. Remember that we all think about NOx fumes on the outside. They're worse inside the bus because buses leak. So all of that's coming right back in the bus. So anyway, I diverted a little bit. They get to school safely, ready to learn. Then you have the opportunity to charge that bus during the day. Level 2 charge, not an extreme cost of infrastructure that the schools have to go to. And then you've got plenty of life in the battery, if you will, to get them safely home
So is
at
the
night.
goal to have charging stations at every school so that when they drop off the kids, they just stay right there? Or is there going to be like a hub where the buses
Even
go back?
charging stations that could be separately metered at the people bring their school buses home in the state.
Right.
Drivers bring the school bus home and start the route from their home. You can have a fully charged up bus, separate metered, level 2, very reasonably done, easy to do with the right incentives, where drivers can even bring them home, charge them, and leave from their home overnight without even having to stop and refuel at some kind of fueling station. Literally, any place you have a plug, theoretically, you've got a fueling station.
Yeah. And obviously the bottom line matters here, and I'm sure the numbers have been crunched, but at what point do these buses pay for themselves, and how much money would this save the school system?
Well, I think that there's been one very specific example during the pilot. I mean, they're all an example, but Boone County was running the beast. And they
Which is
had
the big bus.
the big bus, yes, and they had it on a separate meter. So that charge on that meter was solely for a month of energy to that big bus. It was $211. They told us that their monthly diesel bill on that bus was $900. So their calculation, not ours, the calculation of Boone County was that over 10 years, diesel fuel only was $136,000 in savings. Now that goes along with what you figure nationally at a 70 to 80% less cost of operation and maintenance of the vehicle. So again, you take that pilot and you take the real data of what's going on and you prove that in fact there is a cost savings. And Rick, I think that's so important because today we all, as we were talking earlier, sometimes we get into our camps, right? The good thing about an electric school bus, whatever camp you're in, there's something for you. If you're in the camp of wanting to operate more efficiently, more cost effective, at a reduced cost to the taxpayer, the electric bus does that for you. If you're in the camp of being concerned about the climate crisis, children's health, whatever the case is, it's got something for you as well. So this isn't a politically divided issue. This is an issue that's got something in it for everybody, including that coal miner who's producing the electricity for it.
So you say you've had some test runs out there, you've given it a whirl, so to speak. What has the feedback been like from people on the ground?
It's been mixed, but predominantly very positive. There's cases where not every vehicle is perfect for every application. So there's cases it's been okay on.
But you learn from that.
But you learn from that, and you figure out this is not the instance where I want to deploy this product. And we're not here poo-pooing diesel and gasoline. Frankly, those are great technologies, and people should continue to run those for as long as they can, efficiently and effectively. But as we start getting more and more experience and have more and more deployments, we start creating a product that's more and more flexible and compelling. And, we had drivers that have asked us to, if they don't get a bus, if they can part-time drive our bus and either be a driver trainer or drive the bus for us. It drives very beautifully. And I was just driving to West Virginia University 2 days ago, right along the highway there between Charleston and Morgantown. There's a school district. What's that school, Mark?
I believe that was Gilmore County.
Gilmer? Up 79?
Yes.
There's a high school up on the hill.
Sure.
Parked right in front of the high school is a bus very similar to our Beast by another manufacturer, obviously a diesel bus, out front with a sign on it. The sign says, "School bus drivers needed." That's not uncommon. There's a dearth of school bus drivers in this country. It is a position that's very hard to fill. And in some places out west, they're specifically getting electric buses just so they can get that driver retention. Drivers like to drive it. And when they drive ours, the drivers line up usually to get behind the wheel of our vehicle and drive it. It handles better, it drives better, it's smoother. We were talking about the kids and the pollution, but the kids have a nicer ride. It's a full air ride suspension, so that it's not bouncy. There's no wheel humps in the vehicle at all, so every seat is exceptionally comfortable with full leg room and everything.
Not like when we were growing up and you had the green on seeing the windows that you had to punch in to try to get
exactly. And if you got stuck over that wheel arch in the back, your feet were up, there was no place. That's gone. And the experience is just really nice. It's quiet, which comes with some challenges, but more benefits than challenges. So because our vehicle, doesn't make any noise if it's running, and sitting there, it's not making any noise.
That does create a bit of a safety challenge, though. You bring up a great point because buses,
you hear them.
Yeah, so that kind of creates a, okay, get out of the way kind of deal.
So we've got an announcement on our vehicle. If the vehicle's turning, if you turn on the turn signal, it'll say caution, making right turn.
Okay.
Or caution, making left turn. The other thing the vehicle does at lower speeds, anything below, on these it's 12 miles an hour, but we can adjust that speed. When it's going slowly, it starts making a noise, and it's a programmable noise. In this case, it sounds like a bell ringing, but it could be anything. And it transmits this noise in front of the vehicle. So you hear vehicles that have backup alarms. This vehicle has a forward alarm when you're at low speeds, either theoretically in a residential zone or in a school bus or a school
just little kids
property.
Running around that might not be paying attention.
It
A high school
notifies you.
kid with his phone,
Right. What's the one thing about West Virginia that surprised you the most?
I would have to say the most surprising thing I've seen so far in West Virginia was the personal rapid transit system at West Virginia University.
Yeah.
I've never
the people
seen.
mover up there.
I have never seen anything like it. And I was mentioning to Mark, we were lucky enough to get a up close and personal tour of it, and it was just a spectacular thing. It was actually more like a plane the way it was designed than a vehicle. Obviously, aircraft engineers designed it. So they used a lot of aircraft parts, much to the chagrin of the guys trying to maintain it now, because it's not automotive, it's aircraft. So it's expensive, but it's really, really cool. I was amazed, a deployment like that particular thing that goes around, you couldn't build it today. You couldn't afford to build it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You couldn't have it. And if you take that down, what are you going to replace it with? I don't know. I'm not.
It's such a unique campus, the way that it's structured and built. And
it really is, and that's a thing you don't hear talked about in much of the country. And it was, from the 70s. We try to forget most of everything that came out in the 70s. So it came from an era that wasn't really, I think, impactful for a lot of good stuff, really. And it's an incredible thing. That was very impressive, and it's not really talked about that much. And it seems to be highly successful and very compelling.
Well, you can tell you're a technology and transportation guy when that comes front and
But
center.
that was something I did not expect and really hadn't even heard of. I've seen things like that out west and in campuses that are, you'd consider, far more technologically advanced. The other thing I've noticed here is the people here in West Virginia are probably the most kind, courteous, and inviting people I found in the country. I didn't expect, because I grew up for a number of years outside of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And, the people were fine, but, they're Washington, D.C. folks. They weren't people that worked inside the Beltway, or they weren't out here. It's just a very kind and, I would say, generous and likable population.
Yeah, I think that was the point that I was thinking is the question. I don't know that surprised is the right word, but the genuine appreciation for this company coming to West Virginia, coming to South Charleston, I think has really come across a lot. I've had the opportunity now to spend a lot of weeks here for the last 20 months as we've ramped up this scenario. So I eat at a lot of restaurants, I stay at a lot of hotels, and that conversation is, why are you here? What do you do? And the people are, oh, thank you so much for coming here. Thank you for bringing these jobs here. We need you here so bad. And I think that genuine appreciation for what we're trying to do from an economic development and a job security situation for the state, and that appreciation for that has been rewarding. I don't know if surprising is the word, but maybe rewarding is the word.
And you use the word genuine. That's the word I always use to describe West Virginians. They are just genuine people, salt of the earth. They've accepted me as one of their own. I've been out here for 20 years now, but they will tell you how they feel. So it's a good way to get good, genuine feedback and data from West Virginians.
And that telling you how they feel, I think, really goes back to what Brendan mentioned a minute ago when he said mixed results. I want to dig into what mixed meant. It's really more of I wish this were like that, more than, oh, I don't like your bus.
Right.
I really like your bus. It's the best driving bus I've ever been in. It's the most comfortable bus. Those kind of remarks. But I wish.
Sure. And that's
the
where you
brake release was over here instead of there. And so it's a genuine response to us that they took their job and a pilot serious enough to come back to us and say, like your product, but please make this change. We heard Dr. Tom Williams this morning from Kanawha County Schools saying, how much of their drivers wanted input in after they were in the first round, and how we've taken that input that those drivers have given us to make changes going into what I call that next generation of bus that will be built here.
So, just to wrap this up a little bit, when deals like this are entered into and commitments are made, a lot of times it's, let's just see how this works out. Is the goal here to have this be a long-lasting, down the road, evolve as the market evolves and call West Virginia home for the foreseeable future?
I see no reason to. Actually, we're currently talking about the expansion of this facility in shifts, because we're space constrained here, really. And then even bringing additional, so the first 100+ vehicles that have come through this facility, that have already come through this facility since we started working on the vehicles here in August, Those are a type of vehicle that we sell to New Jersey, customer up in Ohio, Indiana, and we could, even though we don't have enough room to really do both at the same time, that's what we've been doing until we got this order, and this factory is really ramping up for this order. But those we could see, either setting up an additional facility to still process vehicles like this. We have a truck body company in California that we own that makes all the box bodies and refrigerated bodies and things. We could see, setting up that production out here. We could expand to doing battery packs out here. We could do a whole lot of things here in West Virginia that, we're investigating and discussing internally amongst the leadership team, and really figuring out if this is the right place to expand. I don't have any plans of limiting anything in West Virginia. If anything, we just continue to grow things here. I'll tell you, it's tricky. Like I said, there's not a flat piece of land in this state. So this area, this little ordnance center area here in South Charleston, that's developing very quickly, and who knows, we may get pushed up by retail. There's all kinds of retail
Right.
Going on right in front of the building here that's highly profitable and desirable for cities. But I think that in my mind, we would continue with this facility and then build another facility or buy another facility here in the area and possibly grow.
Well, I know South Charleston's happy to have you guys. We are going to take a quick break, but we're not close to being done yet. I do want to expand on a little bit about what has been going on, because we first started hearing about this, I believe, in January of 2022. A lot of time has transpired since then, but you haven't been idle. There's been a lot going on. And we're going to actually take a tour of the facility, take a little bit of a tour of what they've been doing here and what we can expect to happen coming up. But I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. And we'll be right back after this with much more Outside the Echo Chamber as we tour the facility here at Green Power in South Charleston.
August 5th, 2013 was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. It turned into a nightmare. Harmony was too big for me to pass through my pelvis. They thought the best option was to put the vacuum on her.
She begged for a C-section over and over and over. They wanted to rush through it. Once Harmony came out, it probably wasn't 5 minutes. They rushed her to NIC unit, and then her head swelled the size of a watermelon. It pretty much crushed her whole skull. The Insulingo was recommended to us by a family friend that he had represented.
Having Ben Salengo on our side changed everything for the better.
From day one, he did everything for us. He kept in touch with us pretty much on a daily basis to let us know what was going on and even just to check on us.
It gave us closure as a family, a peace, a calming feeling over us that she can rest in peace finally.
All right, welcome back inside the Green Power facility here in South Charleston. We're standing in front of this bus. Now, this is the beast, right? This is the big bus. You're going to hear us talk about nano buses as well. Those are the shortened buses. But 37 of the 41 will be
the beast. Yes.
Just talk a little bit about this bus and what it brings to the table.
So this is the 40-foot vehicle. This is a 90-passenger bus. One of the things that I think is important, and Brendan will talk in a moment about the chassis on this, but this vehicle has a better turning radius, better maneuverability and handling than a traditional Type C, the Type C that has the big nose on the front.
Right. Segue into this then, because this is also something we were mentioning yesterday, how everything is on the same chassis.
Correct.
With the exception of
the
this
small
bus.
vehicles
big
are
bus.
all on the same chassis, same battery pack, same wheel, same motor, all the same parts.
So that makes it a lot easier for production. I would
It
say.
does. Parts for dealers, customers, for everybody. These are all the parts that go into, every little part that goes into the body. These are all the little parts that get assembled to make the bus. The largest pieces, which we call the 6 big pieces, are here. These are the walls of the bus, exactly. These are the walls. And when we put them on, that's called marry up. And
Start to finish, how long does it take to build a bus?
it depends on the number of people, but we could build a bus, we could assemble a bus if we've got the right staff in as short as a day or two.
Wow.
But it'll be longer for us here.
Yeah. Well, you want to make sure you do it right first and foremost.
Well, yeah, but it's really a scale thing and how much space you have.
So let's go to those 3 nano beasts that the state is buying under this announcement today. 3 of those are going to have 2 wheelchair securement positions, which go back here in the back of the bus. Okay. My wheelchair securement positions reduce the seating capacity in the rest of my bus. So what we're doing in that order for the state is we're not only putting the wheelchair securement in here, but we're also putting the seats in as well, because that gives, this vehicle is going to last 10 to 12 or plus years. They don't know how many wheelchair securement positions they're going to need 3 years from now, and so it gives that school district the flexibility to take seats in, put seats out, whatever the case may be, to give that full flexibility. And as part of that deal with the state, we're giving that full package to them so the school districts get the best that they can have.
Everything we're doing here at this location is to make as sound a decision fiscally, financially, and also environmentally.
It's fantastic. And as we go over to the nano, you talk about people seem to have this idea that manufacturing is dying. To me, it's more like, well, manufacturing is just changing.
I would say it's changing.
There's new technologies coming on board that we don't even know about yet that are going to offer manufacturing jobs down the road and in the future.
This is the Nano Beast.
Looks like just a smaller version of the real beast.
It really is. It's the first time anyone's taken a full-sized, heavy-duty body and downsized it and used the same exact
scale,
technology.
It's just smaller.
It's the same material, same building. If I can build one of these, I can build one of the big buses too. Same exact processes. Just
how many children will fit on this?
Up to 24 typically.
Okay.
And then with wheelchairs, you'll have less depending on your layout. The other thing we really like about this space is, these commercial vehicles, even though they only account about 10% of the vehicles that are on the road, if you take your trucks and your buses, you just put them all together, they're maybe even less than 10% of the vehicles that are on the road, total population. But they account for 2/3 of the emissions. So by electrifying only 10%, you're taking care of over, around 70% of the emissions that are generated.
So right now,
it's a big impact.
Yeah, right now, obviously, the focus is on school buses, the Department of Education, the partnership you've reached with the state on that. But it seems to me like you have the infrastructure and the ability here to really branch this out and not just focus on a specific type of vehicle, but maybe there are some opportunities for partnerships with other types of companies that might need different types of vehicles that you can provide for them.
Certainly. Yeah, we make a lot more of these than we make of these.
Right.
And the addressable market is much, much larger for these than these. I mean, school buses, there's 500,000 school buses in the country.
It's a very niche audience.
But it's a niche audience. There are millions and millions of these. And the other thing to keep in mind is you really get volume really helps a company bring quality up, costs down, training up, get your dealership network going, get people that know how to work on it. It's a friend of ours to have a lot of vehicles on the road. And I don't know of any medium-duty vehicle manufacturer that makes electric vehicles that has as many as we do already.
So there you go, new jobs, new technology, and some new electric school buses coming to West Virginia. We want to thank Green Power Motor Company President Brendan Riley and Vice President of Business Development and Strategy Mark Neslin for showing us around. And thank you for watching another episode of Outside the Echo Chamber as we continue to discuss issues important to you and your family. Until next time, I'm Rick Lord. Take care.
It's the New Year's sales event going on right now at Dutch Miller Chevrolet in Huntington. For a limited time, get up to $8,000 off select brand new 2022 Silverados and 2.9% financing with no payments for 90 days. Or take advantage of supplier pricing or less on new Camaros, Trax, Trailblazers, Traversas, and Blazers. Chevy owners can also receive $2,000 in lease loyalty credits.
Text or chat now at DutchMillerChevy.com.
Make sure you are informed with HD Media. We are leading the state in local, digital, and print media. We are storytellers. We focus on education, health, entertainment, politics, opinions, sports, and the outdoors through our websites, print, or social and mobile apps. We work every day to enhance the lives of our customers, by informing, entertaining, and empowering our readers in the communities we serve. We are HD Media.